The first thing Amelia Bennett noticed when she stepped off the bus was how little Pinehaven had changed. The same faded awning still hung over Miller's pharmacy. The town square's oak trees remained majestic as ever, and Daisy's Diner continued to display its best apple pie in the county sign in the window. 5 months away had felt like an eternity to her, but to this sleepy coastal town in Maine, it seemed like merely a blink. Instinctively, her hand moved to her rounded stomach, now prominently visible beneath her loose-fitting navy dress. At 6 months pregnant, there was no hiding her condition anymore. Not that she wanted to. She had spent enough time running and hiding. It was time to face reality, no matter how uncomfortable it might be. "Need help with that bag, miss?" The elderly bus driver smiled at her, gesturing to her weathered suitcase. "No, thank you." "I've got it," Amelia replied, forcing a smile despite the nervous flutter in her chest. She hadn't told anyone she was coming back, not even her best friend Tessa. It had been a spur-of-moment decision after weeks of sleepless nights in her tiny Boston apartment. She couldn't keep hiding from her past, especially not with her future growing inside her each day. Taking a deep breath of the salty ocean air, Amelia began walking toward her childhood home on Maple Street, where her aunt still lived. The weight of her suitcase matched the heaviness in her heart. 5 months ago, she had fled Pinehaven with tears streaming down her face, heartbroken and humiliated after discovering the truth about the man she thought she loved, the man whose child she now carried. Ryan Westbrook. Even thinking his name caused an ache in her chest. Billionaire tech entrepreneur who had returned to his hometown to establish the headquarters of his software company, Westbrook Innovations. The man who had swept her off her feet during her tenure as his executive assistant, only to crush her heart beneath his Italian leather shoes. "One day at a time," she whispered to herself as she walked past the town's quaint shops. "You're doing this for the baby." A cool autumn breeze rustled the changing leaves, bringing with it memories of last spring. Stolen kisses in his office, whispered promises under moonlight, plans for a future together that had evaporated like morning mist when she discovered his engagement to Valerie Huntington, daughter of his largest investor. The news had broken in all the business magazines the very day after he'd told Amelia he loved her. She paused to rest on a bench facing the harbor, watching fishing boats rock gently in the water. Her doctor had advised her to take frequent breaks while traveling. As she massaged her lower back, her phone buzzed with a text from Aunt Patricia. "Doors unlocked. Had to run to book club. Casserole in the oven. We'll talk when I get home. Love you." Relief washed over Amelia. She had called her aunt last night, finally revealing both her pregnancy and her plan to return home. The older woman hadn't asked questions. She never did. She simply said, "Your room is just as you left it," and that was that. As Amelia rose to continue her journey, a sleek black Audi pulled into a parking space near the harborfront offices. Her heart stopped. She would recognize that car anywhere. She had been the one to pick it out after all. Ryan had given her a corporate credit card and asked her to choose a new vehicle for him last spring, telling her to get something that screams success but whispers class. The memory stung like salt in a wound. Panic seized her as she watched the driver's door open. Before she could think clearly, Amelia ducked into the nearest store, Harriet's Book Nook, nearly colliding with a display of bestsellers. "Whoa there, those books aren't going anywhere," chuckled a female voice. Amelia turned to face Harriet Wilson, the shop's owner and town gossip extraordinaire. The older woman's eyes widened as she took in Amelia's appearance, her gaze lingering on the baby bump. "Amelia Bennett. Well, I'll be—" Harriet's voice trailed off, her expression a mixture of surprise and delight at having stumbled upon the juiciest piece of gossip Pinehaven had seen in months. "Hi, Harriet." "Just browsing," Amelia said weakly, knowing full well that news of her return and condition would spread through town faster than wildfire. "Of course, dear. Anything in particular you're looking for? Perhaps some parenting books?" Harriet's eyes twinkled with undisguised curiosity. "Just something to read tonight," Amelia replied, trying to appear casual as she glanced through the window, checking if Ryan had entered one of the harborfront buildings. To her horror, he was walking directly toward the bookshop, phone pressed to his ear, his expression serious as it always was during business calls. "Actually, can I use your back exit?" Amelia asked frantically. Harriet raised an eyebrow but nodded toward a narrow hallway. "Through there, past the storeroom. But honey, you can't avoid everyone forever, especially in a town this size." I know. Just not yet. Thank you, Amelia whispered, hurrying toward the exit, just as the bell above the front door chimed. She slipped out the back door into an alley, heart pounding wildly. That had been too close. She wasn't ready to face him, not until she had settled in and prepared what she would say. She needed time to rebuild her courage, to remember that she was no longer the heartbroken girl who had fled town. She was stronger now, with more than just herself to think about. Taking a different route to her aunt's house, Amelia finally arrived at the Blue Victorian on Maple Street. The porch swing, where she had spent countless teenage evenings reading novels, still swayed gently in the breeze. The flower beds, now filled with autumn chrysanthemums instead of spring tulips, remained meticulously maintained by Aunt Patricia. This was home, the only real home she had ever known since her parents died when she was 12. Aunt Patricia had raised her, supported her college education, and celebrated when she landed what seemed like a dream job at Westbrook Innovations a year ago. She hadn't judged when Amelia called in tears from Boston 5 months ago, nor had she asked questions about the father when Amelia finally revealed her pregnancy. Inside, the house smelled of cinnamon and apples, Aunt Patricia's signature fall casserole. Amelia made her way upstairs to her old bedroom, which indeed remained unchanged, pale blue walls, white furniture, and a window seat overlooking the garden. She set down her suitcase and sank onto the familiar bed, finally allowing herself a moment of emotional release. Tears flowed freely down her cheeks as she placed both hands on her stomach. "We're going to be okay," she whispered to her unborn child. "Somehow, we'll figure this out." After washing her face and unpacking a few essentials, Amelia headed downstairs for dinner. As she served herself a portion of casserole, her phone rang. The screen displayed Tessa Mitchell, her best friend since kindergarten. "Amelia Jean Bennett." Tessa's voice was a mixture of shock and excitement. "Harriet Wilson just called me asking if I knew you were back in town and pregnant. Please tell me I didn't have to hear this from Pinehaven's resident gossip queen." Amelia sighed. "I'm sorry, Tess. I was going to call you tonight after I got settled at Aunt Patricia's. I'm coming over, right now. Don't you dare go anywhere," Tessa declared before hanging up. 15 minutes later, Tessa burst through the door without knocking, a privilege earned through decades of friendship. Her curly red hair bounced as she rushed to embrace Amelia, then pulled back to examine her with wide eyes. "Oh my God, it's true," Tessa whispered, staring at Amelia's stomach. "You're really pregnant." "Surprise?" Amelia offered weakly. Tessa's expression softened as she guided Amelia to the living room couch. "Start talking, and don't leave anything out." As they settled into the comfortable old sofa, Tessa held Amelia's hands in hers, ready to listen. But before Amelia could begin her explanation, her phone buzzed with a text message. When she glanced at the screen, her face drained of color. It was from Ryan. "Harriet told me you're back in town. We need to talk. I'll be at your aunt's house in 20 minutes. "He knows I'm here," Amelia whispered, her voice trembling as she showed Tessa the text. "Ryan's coming here. Now." Tessa's green eyes widened. "What do you want to do?" "We could leave. Go to my place." "No." Amelia straightened her shoulders, a newfound determination replacing her initial panic. "I'm done running. I knew this would happen eventually. I just didn't expect it on my first day back." "Does he know?" Tessa asked gently, nodding toward Amelia's stomach. "About the baby?" "No. At least not from me." Amelia closed her eyes briefly. "But if Harriet mentioned my condition," Tessa squeezed her hand. "Do you want me to stay?" Amelia considered this for a moment. "No, this is something I need to handle myself, but maybe wait upstairs? I might need moral support afterward." As Tessa headed up to Amelia's bedroom, Amelia moved to the window, watching the quiet street with increasing anxiety. She used these moments to rehearse what she would say, how she would remain composed when facing the man who had simultaneously given her the greatest gift and the deepest heartbreak of her life. The rumble of a powerful engine broke the evening silence. The black Audi pulled up in front of the house, its headlights briefly illuminating the living room before going dark. Amelia's heart hammered against her ribs as she watched Ryan Westbrook emerge from the vehicle. Even from a distance, he took her breath away. Tall and commanding, in a charcoal grey suit that complemented his broad shoulders, his dark hair slightly tousled by the wind. He paused at the gate, looking up at the house with an expression she couldn't quite read. For a moment he seemed hesitant, a stark contrast to the confident CEO who commanded boardrooms, and managed a tech empire valued at billions. The doorbell rang, its chime slicing through the tension. Amelia took a steadying breath, smoothed her dress over her bump, and walked to the door. Her hand hovered over the knob for a second before she finally opened it. Ryan stood on the porch, his steel-blue eyes immediately locking with hers. For a brief moment, neither spoke. Then his gaze dropped to her pregnant belly, and his composed expression faltered, revealing raw shock. "Amelia," he said, his deep voice barely above a whisper. "You're pregnant." She nodded, unable to find her voice. "May I come in?" he asked, his usual authoritative tone replaced by something more cautious. Amelia stepped aside, allowing him to enter the familiar house where he had once picked her up for their first date, bringing flowers not just for her, but for Aunt Patricia as well. The memory stung. They moved to the living room, an uncomfortable silence stretching between them. Amelia chose the armchair while Ryan perched on the edge of the sofa, his usual grace replaced by obvious tension. "How far along are you?" he finally asked. 6 months, she replied, watching comprehension dawn on his face as he did the math. "And it's—" "Yes, Ryan. The baby is yours." Amelia cut him off, a flash of anger breaking through her composed facade. Who else's would it be? He ran a hand through his dark hair, a gesture she recognized from the rare moments when he felt out of his depth. "Why didn't you tell me?" The question ignited something inside her. "Tell you? When exactly should I have done that, Ryan? After I saw your engagement announcement in Forbes? Or maybe after your fiancé called me to clarify my role in your company?" The bitter words poured out before she could stop them. Ryan's expression darkened. "That's not fair. You disappeared. You quit with a brief email and vanished. I tried to find you." "To what end?" Amelia interrupted. "So you could offer me hush money? A better severance package? I saw the pictures of you and Valerie at that gala in New York. You looked quite cozy for someone who had told me the night before that I was the only woman you wanted in your life." He stood abruptly, pacing the worn carpet that had witnessed countless family gatherings throughout her childhood. "There's so much you don't understand about that situation, Amelia. Enlighten me then," she challenged, protective hands resting on her stomach. Ryan stopped pacing, his expression softening as he looked at her pregnancy. "The baby. Are you both healthy?" The genuine concern in his voice momentarily disarmed her. "Yes. Everything's developing normally. It's a boy." Something flickered across Ryan's face. Pride, wonder, fear, before his business mask slipped back into place. "I'm glad to hear that. And for the record, my engagement to Valerie ended months ago. It was never real to begin with." Amelia felt her defenses rising again. "That's convenient to say now." "It's the truth," he insisted. "The arrangement with Valerie was part of a business deal with her father. It was his condition for becoming our primary investor when the company was struggling. I should have told you, but I thought I could find another way out before the announcement went public." The explanation hit Amelia like a physical blow. Could it be true? Had she run away based on a misunderstanding? No, she had seen the photographs, read the interviews where he and Valerie discussed wedding plans. So all those interviews, the public appearances, those were lies, she asked skeptically. "Business theater," Ryan replied grimly, "until I could secure alternative funding, which I did 3 months ago. The engagement ended immediately after." Amelia's mind reeled with this new information. "Even if that's true, you still lied to me. You led me to believe we had a future together while you were publicly committed to someone else." Ryan sank back onto the sofa, looking more vulnerable than she had ever seen him. "You're right. I handled everything wrong, Amelia. I was trying to save my company and have you too. It was selfish and unfair." His admission surprised her. Ryan Westbrook, who prided himself on strategic brilliance and perfect execution, rarely acknowledged mistakes. "So what happens now?" she asked quietly. "Why are you here?" "Because despite everything, I never stopped looking for you." His voice was earnest, his eyes focused intently on hers. "And now there's not just you to consider, but our child. I want to be involved, Amelia. I need to be involved." Before she could respond, the front door opened, and Aunt Patricia walked in, stopping short at the sight of Ryan. Despite being in her 60s, Patricia Bennett carried herself with the strength and directness that had guided Amelia throughout her life. "Mr. Westbrook," she acknowledged with a cool nod, "I see you've heard the news." Ryan stood respectfully. Ms. Bennett. Yes, I just learned about the baby. Patricia set her purse down and fixed him with the penetrating gaze that had intimidated generations of high school students during her tenure as principal. And what are your intentions toward my niece and her child? The directness of the question seemed to catch Ryan off guard. Amelia watched him carefully, equally curious about his answer. I intend to support them both, in whatever way Amelia will allow, he replied after a moment. Financially, of course, but also... He paused, glancing at Amelia. In every other way possible, if she'll let me. Patricia nodded, apparently satisfied with his response for now. Amelia is an adult who makes her own decisions, but understand this, she has family who loves her, with or without your billions. With that pointed reminder, she excused herself to the kitchen, tactfully giving them privacy while remaining within earshot. Once they were alone again, Ryan moved closer to Amelia's chair, kneeling before her in a gesture so uncharacteristic of the powerful CEO that it left her momentarily speechless. I know I have no right to ask anything of you, he said softly, but I'd like the chance to prove myself, to you and to our son. The sincerity in his eyes made her heart constrict painfully. How many nights had she dreamed of him saying these very words? How many times had she imagined a reconciliation, a family, a future together? But dreams were dangerous things for a woman who had already been betrayed once. I need time, she whispered. This is all happening so fast. Ryan nodded, reaching for her hand but stopping short, respecting the invisible boundary between them. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. Not this time. He stood, retrieving a business card from his wallet and placing it on the coffee table. My personal cell is on the back, day or night, if you or the baby need anything. As he moved toward the door, Amelia felt a flutter in her stomach, a strong kick from their son, as if reminding her of his presence, his stake in this complicated situation. Ryan, she called out, stopping him. There's something else you should know. He turned, his expression open, vulnerable. Tomorrow morning. I have a doctor's appointment at 10. They're doing an ultrasound. She hesitated, then added, You could come if you want to. The smile that spread across his face transformed his features, erasing the hard lines of the businessman and revealing the man she had fallen in love with. I'll be there. Thank you, Amelia. After he left, Tessa and Aunt Patricia both appeared simultaneously from their respective hiding spots. Well? Tessa prompted, practically bouncing with anticipation. Amelia touched her stomach gently, feeling another kick from her son. I don't know what to believe anymore. He says the engagement was fake, a business arrangement. And do you believe him? Aunt Patricia asked shrewdly. Amelia stared at the door where Ryan had just exited. I want to, she admitted, but I'm not the same naive girl who left town 5 months ago. Whatever happens next, I need to protect myself and my baby. As she spoke those words, her phone buzzed with a new text message. When she read it, her face paled. What is it? Tessa asked, concerned. Amelia showed them the screen. A message from an unknown number with a photograph attached. Ryan and Valerie Huntington having lunch together that very afternoon in Pine Haven's upscale restaurant, the Harbor View. The text below the photo read, He's still lying to you. Be careful. Amelia barely slept that night, the mysterious text message replaying in her mind alongside Ryan's seemingly heartfelt words. By morning, dark circles shadowed her eyes as she prepared for her doctor's appointment, unsure if Ryan would actually show up after the bombshell photo. Want me to drive you? Tessa offered over coffee at the kitchen table. She had stayed overnight, unwilling to leave Amelia alone with her turbulent thoughts. Thanks, but I need to do this myself, Amelia replied, absent-mindedly stirring her decaffeinated tea. Besides, don't you have the bakery to run? Tessa, who had opened Sweet Sensations Bakery 2 years ago, waved dismissively. Megan can handle the morning rush. You're more important. Aunt Patricia entered the kitchen, already dressed for her volunteer shift at the library. Whatever that man says today, remember you're making decisions for 2 now, she advised, placing a gentle hand on Amelia's shoulder. The drive to Pine Haven Medical Center took only 10 minutes, but for Amelia, it stretched into an eternity of doubt and questions. Who had sent that photo? Why was Ryan meeting with Valerie if their engagement was truly over? Was she walking into another heartbreak? As she pulled into the parking lot, she immediately spotted Ryan's Audi. He was early. Her heart fluttered traitorously at the realization that he had taken this appointment seriously enough to arrive ahead of time. He stood when she entered the waiting room, a tentative smile on his face. Gone was the power suit from yesterday. Today he wore dark jeans and a navy sweater that softened his normally intimidating presence. In his hands, he held a small gift bag. "I wasn't sure you'd come after that text," Amelia said quietly as she approached. Ryan's expression turned serious. "You received something about me?" She pulled out her phone and showed him the photograph. His jaw tightened as he studied it. "I can explain this," he said, his voice low to avoid being overheard by the receptionist. "But not here, after the appointment." Before she could respond, a nurse called her name. "Amelia Bennett?" Together, they followed the nurse to an examination room, an awkward silence hanging between them. Amelia changed into a gown behind a privacy screen while Ryan waited outside. When the technician arrived with the ultrasound machine, reality seemed to hit Ryan fully. His confident demeanor faltered, replaced by genuine awe as gel was applied to Amelia's rounded belly. "Ready to see your baby?" the technician asked cheerfully. The moment the image appeared on screen, accompanied by the strong rhythmic heartbeat filling the room, Ryan reached for Amelia's hand instinctively. This time, she didn't pull away. "There he is," the technician pointed. "Good, strong heartbeat, normal growth. Everything looks perfect." Tears welled in Amelia's eyes as she watched their son on the screen. Tiny hands moving, the outline of his profile clear and distinct. When she glanced at Ryan, she was startled to see moisture in his eyes as well. "That's our son," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "He's perfect." In that moment, watching Ryan's genuine reaction to seeing their child, Amelia felt her walls begin to crack. Whatever had happened between them, whatever lies or truths existed in their complicated past, the man beside her was genuinely moved by the sight of their baby. After the appointment, clutching the new ultrasound images, they walked to a quiet park across from the medical center. Ryan guided her to a bench beneath an oak tree, whose leaves had turned brilliant shades of orange and red. "About that photo," he began, his expression serious. "Yes, I had lunch with Valerie yesterday. Her father is still a major investor in my company, and she's recently joined their board of directors. It was a business meeting." Amelia raised an eyebrow skeptically. "Just business?" Ryan nodded firmly. "Strictly business. The truth is, ending our engagement created significant tension with the Huntington Group. I've been working to maintain that relationship professionally, while making it clear that the personal arrangement is over." He hesitated, then added, "Valerie actually suggested the meeting. She said she wanted to clear the air now that she's taking a more active role in her father's company." "And you believe her?" Amelia asked. "I have to work with her regardless of what I believe about her motivations," Ryan replied pragmatically. "But what concerns me more is who took that photo and sent it to you. That feels deliberate." The implication hung between them. Someone wanted to drive a wedge between them, to reinforce Amelia's doubts about Ryan's sincerity. "May I see the number it came from?" Ryan asked. Amelia showed him, and his expression darkened. "This is Valerie's number." The revelation hit Amelia like a physical blow. "So it was her? Why would she—" "I don't know," Ryan interrupted, his voice hardening with anger. "But I intend to find out." He pulled out his phone, but Amelia stopped him with a hand on his arm. "Wait. Let's think about this. If Valerie sent that photo, she wanted to cause problems between us. Confronting her immediately might be exactly what she wants." Ryan looked at her with newfound respect. "You're right. That's the kind of strategic thinking that made you invaluable as my assistant." He smiled slightly. "Among other qualities." The compliment warmed her despite her determination to remain guarded. "The question is, what does she gain from this? If your engagement is truly over—" "It is," Ryan insisted. "But Valerie never accepted that. When I ended things, she threatened to convince her father to pull his investment. I called her bluff, secured alternative funding, and proceeded anyway. She was not pleased." "So this is revenge?" Amelia asked, protectively cradling her belly. "Possibly. Or perhaps she still hopes to change my mind." Ryan's jaw tightened. "What she doesn't understand is that there was never anything real between us to begin with. Not like—" He trailed off, looking at Amelia with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Not like what we had," he finished softly. The moment stretched between them, charged with unspoken feelings. Amelia broke the connection first, looking down at the gift bag he had brought to the appointment. "What's this?" she asked, changing the subject. Ryan smiled, handing her the bag. "Open it." Inside, Amelia found a small, soft grey stuffed elephant. "The first gift for our son," Ryan explained. "I remembered you once mentioned that elephants were your favorite animal as a child." The thoughtfulness of the gesture, that he had remembered such a small detail from one of their conversations, touched her deeply. As she ran her fingers over the plush toy, Amelia felt her resolve weakening further. "Thank you," she whispered. "He'll love it." Ryan leaned slightly closer. "Amelia, I know I have no right to ask for your forgiveness or trust, but I want you to know that learning about our son has changed everything for me. Whatever happens between us, I will be there for him and for you, if you'll let me." The sincerity in his voice was compelling. For a moment, Amelia allowed herself to imagine a future where they could be a family, the three of them together building something real and lasting. "I need more time," she said finally. "This is all happening so fast. Yesterday I was a single mother preparing to raise my child alone. Today you're back in my life making promises. It's overwhelming." Ryan nodded, respecting her boundaries. "Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." He paused, then added, "Would you consider having dinner with me tomorrow night? Just to talk. No pressure. I'd like to share my plans for being involved in our son's life. Hear your thoughts." Before Amelia could answer, her phone rang. The screen displayed unknown number. With a wary glance at Ryan, she answered. "Is this Amelia Bennett?" asked an unfamiliar female voice. "Yes, who's calling?" "This is Julia Parks from Pinehaven Community Hospital. Your Aunt Patricia has been brought to the emergency room. She collapsed at the library." The world seemed to tilt beneath Amelia's feet. Is she okay?" "She's stable but asking for you. Can you come to the hospital? I'll be right there." Amelia ended the call, her face ashen as she turned to Ryan. "My aunt's in the hospital. I have to go." Without hesitation, Ryan stood. "I'll drive you. You're too shaken up to get behind the wheel." For once, Amelia didn't argue. They hurried to his car, her mind racing with worst-case scenarios. Aunt Patricia was her only real family, the woman who had raised her after her parents' death. The thought of losing her was unbearable. At the hospital, Ryan's presence proved unexpectedly valuable. When the receptionist began a lengthy admittance procedure, his authoritative tone and well-known name expedited their access to Patricia's room. They found the older woman looking pale but alert, hooked up to monitors and an IV. Relief flooded Amelia as she rushed to her aunt's bedside. "What happened?" she demanded, taking her aunt's hand. "Just a little fainting spell," Patricia downplayed, though her weak voice betrayed her condition. "Low blood pressure, they say. Nothing to worry about." The doctor who entered moments later offered a more concerning diagnosis. "Ms. Bennett has experienced a minor heart attack," he explained. "We've stabilized her, but we'll need to keep her for observation and run some tests." The news struck Amelia like physical pain. A heart attack? But she's always been so healthy. "These things can happen without warning," the doctor explained gently. "The good news is we caught it early, and there appears to be minimal damage to the heart muscle." As the doctor continued outlining treatment plans, Amelia felt Ryan's steadying hand on her back, providing silent support. In that moment of crisis, all the complications between them seemed to fade in importance. Hours passed in a blur of medical consultations and paperwork. Ryan remained by her side throughout, bringing her food she barely touched, handling administrative details, and never once suggesting he needed to be elsewhere. When visiting hours ended, the nursing staff made an exception, allowing Amelia to stay overnight in her aunt's room. "You should go home, get some rest," she told Ryan as evening fell. "You've done more than enough." Ryan hesitated. "Are you sure you'll be all right alone?" The genuine concern in his voice warmed something inside her. "I'll be fine, but thank you for everything today." As he prepared to leave, Ryan paused at the door. "I almost forgot. When you were speaking with the cardiologist, I received a call from my security team. They've been investigating the text you received." Amelia looked up, her exhaustion momentarily forgotten. "And?" "It wasn't sent from Valerie's phone," Ryan said gravely. "Someone spoofed her number to make it appear that way. We're trying to trace the actual sender. The revelation sent a chill down Amelia's spine. Who would do that? And why? Ryan's expression darkened. I don't know. But I promise you, I'm going to find out. As he left, Amelia settled into the uncomfortable hospital chair beside her aunt's bed, her mind reeling with the day's events. The joy of the ultrasound, the confusing revelations about Ryan and Valerie, her aunt's health crisis, and now this disturbing news about the mysterious text sender. Just as she was drifting into an uneasy sleep, her phone buzzed with another message. With trembling fingers, she opened it to find a new text from another unknown number. Stay away from Ryan Westbrook if you want to keep your baby safe. This is not a game. The threatening text message robbed Amelia of what little rest she might have found in the uncomfortable hospital chair. By morning, her nerves were frayed, her pregnancy-induced backache intensified by the night spent watching over her aunt. Patricia woke around 7, looking stronger than the previous day. You look terrible, she observed bluntly. Go home and rest, the baby needs you healthy. I'm fine, Amelia insisted, though the dark circles under her eyes suggested otherwise. Stubborn as always, Patricia sighed. At least call that young man of yours. You shouldn't be alone with whatever's bothering you, and don't pretend nothing is. I raised you, remember? I know your worried face. Reluctantly, Amelia showed her aunt the threatening message. Patricia's expression hardened as she read it. You need to tell Ryan about this, and the police, she said firmly. I already texted Ryan the screenshot, Amelia admitted. He's meeting with his security team this morning. As if summoned by their conversation, Ryan appeared in the doorway, a concerned expression on his face. He carried a small duffel bag and a takeout container that smelled tantalizingly of Daisy's diner pancakes. Brought you a change of clothes, he said, handing Amelia the bag. Tessa helped me pack it, and breakfast. You need to eat. The thoughtfulness of the gesture brought unexpected tears to Amelia's eyes, which she quickly blinked away. Pregnancy hormones, she told herself, though she knew it was more than that. Any news about the message? She asked quietly. Ryan nodded, his expression grim. Let's discuss it privately. He turned to Patricia with a respectful nod. How are you feeling, Ms. Bennett? Well enough to tell you both to stop hovering and solve whatever mess is going on, Patricia replied with characteristic directness. The nurses said my doctor will be by soon for morning rounds. Go talk. In a quiet corner of the hospital cafeteria, Ryan showed Amelia his tablet, which displayed a security report. My team traced both messages. They were sent through an anonymizing service, but they originated from an IP address within Westbrook Innovations. The revelation sent a chill through Amelia. Someone at your company is threatening me. Ryan's jaw tightened. Yes, and I have a suspicion who. Last month I fired my head of operations, Daniel Powell, after discovering he'd been embezzling company funds. He's currently under investigation, and he blames me for ruining his life. But why target me and the baby? I barely knew him when I worked there. Because he knows hurting you would hurt me, Ryan said simply, his eyes meeting hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. And he's right. Before Amelia could process the implications of that statement, Ryan continued. I've hired additional security. They'll keep watch over your aunt's house and follow you discreetly when you go out. Amelia bristled. I don't need babysitters. This isn't up for debate, Ryan replied, his CEO authority momentarily asserting itself. Then, more gently, please, Amelia, for our son's safety. She wanted to argue, but knew he was right. The safety of their child had to come first. Fine, she conceded. What's your plan for catching Powell? My security team is working with police to locate him. Meanwhile, I'm having all company systems audited to see if he still has access. Ryan hesitated, then added, There's something else you should know. Yesterday, after I left the hospital, Valerie Huntington came to see me. Amelia tensed. And? She admitted she's been working with Powell, not on the threats, he quickly added, seeing Amelia's alarm. But she's been feeding him information about me, hoping to damage my reputation with investors. She's still angry about our broken engagement. So she is involved, Amelia said bitterly. Indirectly, yes. But when I told her about the threats against you and the baby, she seemed genuinely shocked. Whatever her feelings about me, she swears she never intended for anyone to be endangered. Amelia wasn't entirely convinced, but she was too exhausted to argue. After finishing her breakfast, she returned to her aunt's room to find Patricia looking markedly better, sitting up and chatting with her doctor. Good news, the cardiologist announced. All tests indicate minimal damage. With medication and lifestyle changes, Ms. Bennett should make a full recovery. We'll keep her one more day for observation, then she can go home provided she has someone to help out for a while. Relief washed over Amelia. I'll take care of her. No, you won't, Patricia interjected firmly. You're 6 months pregnant and dealing with enough stress already. I've already called my sister Jean. She's driving up from Portland tomorrow. Aunt Jean was Patricia's younger sister, a retired nurse with whom Patricia had always been close. It was a sensible solution, though Amelia felt a twinge of guilt at not being the one to care for her aunt. The rest of the day passed in a blur of hospital routines, interrupted by a visit from Tessa, bringing homemade muffins and town gossip to distract Patricia. By evening, Amelia was utterly spent, reluctantly agreeing to let Ryan drive her home. As they pulled up to Patricia's house, Ryan's security detail was already in position, a discreet black SUV parked across the street, 2 professional-looking men nodding respectfully as Ryan helped Amelia from the car. They'll keep watch all night, he assured her. Try to get some rest. Inside, the empty house felt unsettlingly quiet without Patricia's presence. Amelia checked the locks twice before heading upstairs for a much-needed shower. The hot water soothed her aching muscles, but did little to calm her racing thoughts. As she dressed in comfortable pajamas, her phone chimed with a text from Ryan. Security reports all clear, sleep well. Despite her determination to maintain emotional distance, the message comforted her. She was just settling into bed when the landline phone rang downstairs. Unusual, as few people called Patricia's home number anymore. Cautiously, Amelia went to answer it. Hello? Is this Amelia Bennett? A male voice, unfamiliar and slightly slurred. Who's asking? She replied warily. Someone who knows what Ryan Westbrook is really capable of, the voice continued. You think he's going to play happy families with you and that baby? You're just another asset to manage, another problem to solve. A chill ran down Amelia's spine. Daniel Powell, I presume. A harsh laugh answered her. Smart girl. Always were. That's why Ryan kept you around. Good assistant, better bed warmer. Anger flared, overriding her fear. What do you want? Justice, Powell spat. Westbrook destroyed my career, my reputation. Now I'm going to take what matters to him. By threatening a pregnant woman? Amelia challenged, her free hand protectively covering her stomach. That's your idea of justice? Just a means to an end, Powell replied coldly. Westbrook cares about 2 things, his company and his image. You and that kid threaten both. He'll pay whatever it takes to keep you quiet and out of the picture. Sudden understanding dawned on Amelia. This isn't about hurting me, it's about extorting Ryan. Smart girl, Powell repeated mockingly. While keeping Powell talking, Amelia had been frantically texting Ryan with her other hand. Now she heard the security team rushing up the porch steps. The front door opened, and Ryan appeared in the hallway, his face taut with concern. He's on the phone right now, she mouthed silently, pointing to the receiver. Ryan nodded, speaking quietly into his own phone, presumably updating his security team or the police. So what's your play here, Powell? Amelia asked, her voice stronger now with Ryan present. Scare me into leaving town, force Ryan to pay you off? Both, ideally, Powell replied. 10 million in untraceable cryptocurrency, and you disappear from his life. Everybody wins. Except my son, who deserves to know his father, Amelia countered, and except Ryan, who has the right to be in his child's life. Powell scoffed. Such touching family values. Did he tell you about the other women? The ones before you? The ones after you left? The accusation struck a nerve, but Amelia refused to show weakness. You're lying. Am I? Ask him about Sofia Martinez from the Madrid office, or Chloe Wilson from marketing. Powell's voice dripped with malice. Westbrook has a type. Smart, ambitious, easily impressed by power. You weren't special, Amelia, just convenient. Ryan, who could hear Powell's side of the conversation as he stood near Amelia, shook his head vehemently, mouthing, He's lying. In that moment, staring into Ryan's eyes, Amelia made a decision about whom to trust. I don't believe you, Powell, and this conversation is over. She hung up the phone. He'll call back, Ryan warned, already moving to unplug the landline. I don't care, Amelia replied firmly. I'm done being manipulated by him, by Valerie, by anyone. Ryan approached her cautiously. Those names he mentioned, they're complete fabrications. There was never anyone else while we were together, Amelia. And no one since. The raw honesty in his voice was compelling. "I believe you," she said simply. Ryan's phone rang, his security detail outside. "They've traced Powell's call. He's at the Harbour Inn on the outskirts of town. Police are on their way." Relief flooded through Amelia, followed quickly by exhaustion. The adrenaline that had sustained her through the confrontation ebbed away, leaving her lightheaded. Ryan noticed immediately, guiding her to sit on the stairs. "It's almost over," he promised, his hand warm against her back. "Powell will be arrested tonight." Amelia nodded, too tired to speak. After a moment, she looked up at Ryan, really seeing him. The worry in his eyes, the tension in his shoulders, the unwavering support he'd provided throughout this crisis. "Stay," she said softly. Not like that. But I don't want to be alone tonight." Understanding flickered across his face. "I'll sleep on the couch," he assured her. 3 hours later, Amelia woke from a fitful sleep to find Ryan standing in her doorway, his expression victorious. "They've got him. Powell's in custody." The news brought immediate relief. "And Valerie? The police are questioning her about her involvement, but it appears she genuinely didn't know about the threats." Ryan hesitated. "She did admit to trying to sabotage any reconciliation between us. The lunch meeting was her idea. She knew someone would see us and word would get back to you." Amelia nodded, processing this final piece of the puzzle. "So it's really over?" "Yes," Ryan confirmed, then added with a slight smile, "Well, this part of the story anyway." His implication was clear. There could be a new beginning for them, if she wanted it. "Come sit," she invited, patting the edge of her bed. As Ryan settled beside her, careful to maintain a respectful distance, Amelia reached for his hand. "These past days have been illuminating. I've seen who you really are, not just the billionaire CEO, but the man willing to stay by my side through a hospital vigil, who remembers my childhood love of elephants, who drops everything to protect me and our child." Ryan's fingers tightened around hers. "I made mistakes, Amelia, terrible ones that hurt you deeply, but losing you taught me what really matters. It's not the company or the money or the power. It's this: family, love, trust." "I'm not ready to jump back into a relationship," Amelia cautioned. "There's too much history, too much to rebuild." "I understand," Ryan nodded, though disappointment flickered briefly in his eyes. "But," she continued, "I am ready to start over, slowly, to build something new, not for my sake or yours, but for our son. He deserves parents who respect and trust each other, whether or not we're together romantically." Hope replaced the disappointment in Ryan's expression. "I'd like that." "Very much." 6 months later, on a perfect spring day, Amelia sat on a blanket in Patricia's backyard, watching Ryan gently rock their 6-week-old son, Benjamin Thomas Westbrook. The baby, with his father's blue eyes and his mother's dark curls, had brought an unexpected peace to their complicated relationship. "He's finally asleep," Ryan whispered, carefully placing Benjamin in the portable bassinet beside them. "Until the next feeding," Amelia smiled, leaning back against the oak tree that had shaded generations of her family. So much had changed since her return to Pine Haven. Aunt Patricia had recovered fully, with Aunt Jean deciding to stay permanently in the guest room, claiming the sisters were too old to waste time living apart. Tessa's bakery had expanded, now supplying desserts to all of Ryan's corporate events. Daniel Powell had accepted a plea deal and was serving time for extortion and financial fraud, while Valerie Huntington had moved to Europe, severing ties with Westbrook Innovations. And then there was Ryan, who had purchased the house next door to Patricia's, refusing to miss a moment of his son's life. Who came over every morning and evening, sometimes just for an hour, sometimes staying late into the night, helping with feedings and diaper changes. Who had earned not just Amelia's forgiveness, but gradually, cautiously, her trust. "What are you thinking about?" he asked, noticing her contemplative expression. "How life takes unexpected turns," she replied. "A year ago, I never imagined we'd be here like this." Ryan smiled, his hand finding hers on the blanket between them. "I've been meaning to ask you something," he said hesitantly. "Would you and Benjamin like to come to dinner at my place tomorrow? I've been practicing my cooking skills." Amelia raised an eyebrow skeptically. "The man who once burned microwave popcorn is cooking dinner." "I've been taking classes," Ryan admitted with a sheepish grin. "I have hidden talents you've yet to discover, Miss Bennett." The playful flirtation between them had been growing more frequent lately, a tentative dance back toward the connection they'd once shared. While Amelia had maintained her boundaries, insisting they focus on co-parenting rather than romance. Her heart had been softening with each thoughtful gesture, each midnight feeding Ryan insisted on handling, each moment of genuine partnership. "Dinner sounds nice," she agreed. As Benjamin slept peacefully between them, Amelia allowed herself to imagine a future she hadn't dared hope for during those dark, lonely months in Boston. A family, whole and healing, building something stronger than what had been broken. She looked at Ryan, finding him already watching her with that intensity that still made her heart skip. Without overthinking, she leaned forward and pressed a gentle kiss to his lips, their first since before she'd left town a year ago. When she pulled back, the wonder in Ryan's eyes reflected her own emotions. "What was that for?" he asked softly. "New beginnings," Amelia replied simply, "and the courage to trust again." As Benjamin stirred in his sleep, tiny hand reaching out reflexively, both parents reached for him simultaneously, their fingers intertwining above their son. In that perfect moment, beneath the oak tree that had witnessed generations of her family's story, Amelia knew with certainty that this new chapter, unexpected, challenging and beautiful, was exactly where she was meant to be.